Hey everyone, Chris here, and welcome to Runescape. Which, well, I'm not actually going to talk much about Runescape. I'm just kind of playing in the background while I'm recording this for something else, for someone else. Because I'd like to dedicate this video to my nephew and good pal Ropo, who I've had so many arguments about this subject without really getting too clear on either side, really. And for as much as I fought with him on this, he deserves to know why I have such animosity toward Fortnite and shooters like it, and modern games that take the emphasis off a story like it does. And while I'm recording a video to be able to tell him, I may as well tell you guys too. So, Fortnite, it's everywhere. It's arguably the biggest game of the modern age. It's definitely one that had a ridiculous amount of growth real quickly. And I can't argue that it's popular, that it's well designed. I mean, can't argue against the fact that it's popular and well designed. But what I can say is that for just 0.1 of the reasons why I dislike it, is that its gameplay revolves entirely around violence, which doesn't mean much to a lot of people because they play like GTA and shooters and fighting games all the time, and like, yeah, I play them, but no shooter or fighter or any game of the like has ever made it onto my favorites list because all there was in it was the ability to shoot this guy or punch that guy or whatever. And so, yeah, I don't like when gameplay is simplified down to just beating people up. And to Fortnite's credit, gameplay is not completely simplified down to that level because you can also build fortifications to protect yourself, except there's also this storm closing in to try and keep players actually engaged in fighting each other throughout the course of the game, that if you are outside of the storm, or if you're out in the storm, you die. So if you build fortifications too early on, then you're gonna just have to abandon them to avoid the storm. And also, even with the addition of being able to build those fortifications, 90% of the gameplay is still shoot this guy in the head, find weapons, shoot this guy in the head. I know the dances have also gotten pretty famous, but the dancing is something you do when you're in the like lobby screen at the beginning while waiting for your match to finish queuing up, or something you do on top of the corpse of a fallen enemy. It's a form of showboating, which I've never liked that either. That brings me to point number 2: competition. Yes, Fortnite has saved the world. Has a storyline play mode where you can even where you can play solo or even work co-op with other players, but that's treated as an extension of the game rather than the default. The default is always treated as Battle Royale or the 1v99 mode, which, if I'm not mistaken, is also called Battle Royale, but I very well could be mistaken because I don't know too much more about the game than what Ropo tries to show me to get me interested, and what other people try to talk to me about to get me interested. I've never been big on competition. Competition is what I would call a necessary evil, because it brings out the best in human performance, but the worst in human behavior. And if you played Fortnite or any online game with a heavy competitive base for more than like 20 minutes and actually paid attention to the in-game chat, whether voice chat or text chat, you would very quickly find what I'm talking about. Bullying is rampant. Just constantly talking down to everyone's just constantly talking down to each other instead of giving them tips and trying to help them out in the competitive PvP community. And I mean, I don't expect them to help each other because they're trying to win by whatever tactics they can, even if those tactics are keeping their secret strategies a secret as efficiently as they can. But at the same time, that's not how it's supposed to be. You can have respectful, friendly competition between friends, usually, obviously. But even that tends to go sour sooner or later because, well, let me just tell you a story about when a friend of mine went to college. Before he left, we used to play Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, these trading card games all the time. While he was away at college, he brought his cards with him and played with some of the people at the college he went to, and they played competitively. They played cutthroat competitively, using strategies that depend heavily on overpowered cards and rare things that basically do not are imbalanced and don't have any kind of counter in the game. And they also played by the ante-rule, where if you lose, the winner takes one of the cards from your deck. Which, that just kind of sucks. That whole event soured my friend to these games. He didn't stop playing them, but he started playing like those people at the college. He wasn't going to play unless there was an ante up. And when he did play, he used these ridiculous cutthroat strategies with these cards that didn't have any way to properly counter them, so it boiled down to, could you draw something that could beat him before he drew these cards? That made the game not fun anymore for anyone. Everyone stopped playing with him because of the fact that they didn't want to put up with that. Well, not everyone. There are a handful of people who, for whatever reason, enjoy that kind of cutthroat gameplay, that they continue to play with him, and they continue to encourage him to play with those kind of strategies. But me, as a casual player who just wants to play for fun, and all of our other friends that were also casual players, yeah, we stopped playing with the guy, because it's not that we didn't want to lose, but rather that we didn't want to lose every time to things that we couldn't do anything about. Because when you get into competitive play, there's always going to be people who are cheating or doing things that should be considered cheating. Because the makers of the game didn't realize that this or that was not balanced with the rest of the game. Moving forward, what would the next point be? I already covered the big two, because basically a heavy competitive fan base, that alone will kill my interest in the game faster than anything else. Or a heavy focus on competition and violence. However, that does raise a point that I should probably address, as much and that is the fact that I love Mega Man to death. Like, one of my favorite games that I suck at, by the way. And Mega Man's heavily rooted in violence. Why aren't you ripping on that, Icarus? Good question, hypothetical commenter who probably doesn't exist. Here's the thing. The games I grew up on were heavily rooted in violence, yes, because of the fact that it's the simplest game mechanic to program. It's the simplest way to add conflict to a story. It's so simple that the developers, the players, everyone can understand it, and no one has to work too hard to figure it out. I'd like to think that nowadays I've grown up and have better taste than that, but I'll still go back and play a Mega Man. So why? When I'm ripping on the other games that play off of violence to no end, why do I still play Mega Man? Well, in Mega Man, the violence there's a story to explain the reason for the violence. It's not just jump to this island and try to collect resources quick enough to murder everyone else. No, it's Dr. Light and Dr. Wily were friends and colleagues until Dr. Wily thought, maybe we can use these robots that we're making to, take over the world. And Dr. Light, being a nice guy and all, figured, no, that's not a good idea. Let's not take over the world. Let's make robots to help people and make life easier and better for them. So Dr. Wily stole some of the more dangerous robots and reprogrammed them for evil because he wanted to take over the world. See, there's a story. There's a reason you're shooting these enemy robots and trying to bring down Dr. Wily. It's not just push someone else down so I can be the best. And that's something that I think tends to get forgotten an awful lot with competitive games. The whole concept of competition is, I'm going to push you down to prove I'm better than you. And, well, I've heard this said many times, but most recently, in the movie Kingsman: The Secret Service, there's no nobility or honor in being better than your fellow man. True nobility is in striving to always be better than your former self. So, with that in mind, going back to my comments on competition, when you're playing a game that's not rooted in competition with other players, like Mega Man or something, you can always try to just do better in your next run. Like, I'm gonna try to do this level without getting hit at all, and that's still you competing. That's you competing with you, not anyone else. Just trying to make yourself the best you can be. But with competition, people get so wrapped up in just comparing themselves to others that it's sad. It's sad for them, it's sad for us to see them, because the ones who are winning, whether they're using cheap and desperate strategies or whether they're winning by completely legitimate means and just struggling to get by, a lot of times when they win, they let it go to their heads. And they do these victory dances, showboating, teabagging. You guys know what teabagging is, right? If you've played a shooter, you've probably seen it. You shoot someone down and then you crouch on their corpse. Yeah, this is all to mock the fallen player, all to make them feel bad about losing, not to make you feel better about winning. What people do when they want to make themselves feel better at winning is they go out and celebrate after the competition's over with a party of some kind, which I know only really fits for big, serious competitions and for people with the money to have a big party. But at the same time, that's the way a mature person celebrates, is beyond the view of the person who lost. They're not out to make the person who lost feel bad for losing. They're just trying to make themselves feel good and acknowledge their win. Now, on the other hand of this are the sore losers, the people who will say it's unfair and accuse people of cheating just because they lost. I used to be that guy. Sometimes I still am, but like I just said when talking about Mega Man and talking about how you're only competing with yourself when you're replaying a single-player game that you've already played and struggled with, I try to be better than my previous self. Better than 10-year-old me crying and screaming and throwing a fit because somebody beat me, whether by cheating or completely fairly at, like, Street Fighter or something. You know, and the next reason why I don't really like Fortnite would be playing into a reason why I really don't like the modern gaming scene as a whole. There's no emphasis on story. Yes, Fortnite has the save the world story mode, but with how everyone focuses on Battle Royale and 1v99, and it's treated a, as an extra package rather than treating it as the base game. Whereas up until Fortnite and PUBG hit the scene, the single player mode, yeah, wasn't really respected in shooters, but the story mode was treated as the base game, with people wanting all kinds of extras for player versus player and competitive multiplayer play. Yeah, I just don't like when they take story out of gaming. That's the reason why you haven't seen me do very many videos on World of Warcraft and haven't seen me do any on RuneScape. They have story, but the gameplay in these games is rooted around grinding. That's why you see me just mining a butt ton of iron. Like, the size of my butt ton of iron right now in this game. The gameplay is more about perseverance, making sure to get through, gathering your materials that you need to progress, and it's like Subnautica. You gather up, you get what you need to make whatever upgrades you need to move on to the next area. Those of you familiar with RuneScape might notice that I'm wearing adamant and mining iron, which is kind of a disconnect because of the fact that iron is a lot crappier than adamantite, even when you combine it with coal to make steel. But I'm leveling my mining and smithing, okay? And I'm not even leveling it to make my own stuff. I buy my stuff from other players because this game's got a pretty strong economy where everyone has kind of a place. Even the jack of all trades like me can turn a profit and then turn around and spend that profit getting what they actually need. But this video isn't supposed to be about RuneScape. It's still about Fortnite and modern gaming. And on to what I would have to say is probably the final point. The graphics. I'm not going to pick on the fact that it uses cartoony graphics. I actually enjoy those. But I've had a chip on my shoulder about all modern games lately because of the fact that I like to introduce my nieces and nephews to my favorites that I played when I was growing up. And you even try to bring up an 8-bit game or a 16-bit game to these kids who are used to multi-textured games with actually calculated physics and all this stuff. They're not even going to look at them. I've tried to get them to play Mega Man, and the most they'll do is try to run straight through the enemies like they think that's how you're supposed to play. I try to get them interested in Harvest Moon and Undertale is even a modern game that just does a throwback to graphics like that. Some of them actually liked Undertale, but for the most part, they just won't even look at a game unless it's 3D and full of all kinds of texturing movement issues that would have killed those earlier consoles because of the fact that you just couldn't do it. There's not enough space on the cartridge. There's not enough processing power on the console. But that's the old man in me. So the old man in me hates Fortnite and modern games I shouldn't say hate. Takes issue with modern games for those reasons. Well, the logical mind in me is taking issue more with the violence, the competition, the disconnect from story. And heck, these games that I'm picking on, these MMOs that put the emphasis on grinding instead of on the story, they have a pretty rich story to them. So I think now I'm ready to just start talking about RuneScape, because I feel I've given plenty of good reason to justify why I personally am against these shooters, and especially against shooters like Fortnite and PUBG, where the default play mode is just kill everyone without any kind of story to explain why you're killing everyone. So on to RuneScape. This is a game I played in its original old school state back when its old school state was the modern thing when I was in high school. And I loved it. Even though if you look back at old school RuneScape, it still exists because the company Jagex, I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. I'm going to go with Jagex though because it doesn't sound as bad in my head. The company behind it decided to preserve old school RuneScape because they realized that RuneScape actually hit its peak player base in 2007 before they came up with the updated graphics and a whole lot of other features that I can't even list because I don't know them all. But back when I was in school, old school RuneScape was all there was for a free-to-play MMO. And they did something at the time that I thought was that as a teenager who wanted to be spoiled by my games, thought was completely nonsense, and I just didn't like it. And that was having the game be free to play and then adding a member subscription to it. There still is free to play RuneScape. I'm on it right now, to be honest. But what they did was they added a member wall when adding parts to the map, and those certain parts of the map, only people who paid the $5 a month to play could play it. And well, being a teenager who was floored by the fact that this was a free-to-play game, I got very frustrated by that. Because I didn't have a credit card, I didn't have any way to pay for something that I had to buy online. That was unfairly gating me out of, at the time it was only like 50% of the content. Now, if you bring up the map of RuneScape, the area that's lit up is the free-to-play area. Everything else, like, I'd say maybe 70% of the game, is member content. And that's perfectly fine. They're paying for more content, they get more content. Teenage me at the time when I was playing this in high school didn't agree with that. I thought, hey, they introduced this game as a free game, they're adding a member wall, that's bait and switch. So, I know better now, obviously, because I just explained it better now. But at the same time, it still irks a little bit that there's a certain point at which all my free-to-play stuff is garbage because of the fact that I'm going to go members on this game. I'm just not going to go members until I have maxed out everything for free-to-play, which for mining and smithing is going to be a nightmare. Because you don't learn to fully craft rune until level 99. I might hold off on mining and smithing because there are so many other things you can mine and you can smith on the member side of the map that'll actually progress mining and smithing better. And so the level cap, and so yeah, there's just more for me there. Now, as for my other stats, I know my rune crafting is already pretty much there. I can craft any rune that a free player can use. My fletching is going to be another one that's going to be a little frustrating because I got to get that up to 60 somehow. Oh wait, is it 60? Is it 60? Where's the highest level Yeah, I'm probably not going to get my fletching up there. I promised Kiersey it would be when I've got the Lumbridge Achievement Diary, all free-to-play quests, and all free-to-play weapons and armor available to me. Which, I'm getting kind of close on that Lumbridge Achievement Diary. I just need to get this up to 68, and this up to 60, and this to 59. I think that's all I need. I think that's all that's left in my Achievement Diary for Lumbridge. I clicked the wrong button. But yeah, fun game. I would recommend it to anyone. Oh yeah, I got my prayer goal of 45. Let's see, 68 smithing, 49 magic for that, 59 magic for that. And 60, yeah, I just need to get 68 smithing, 59 magic because that'll bypass the 49 magic there, and 60 fire making. And I'll finish the achievement diary. As for the quests, that's on the button I originally clicked that I should not have clicked first. I think I've got what I need to get all these quests done. I'm a little worrisome about this one, Dragon Slayer, because that one's a killer. That was the last quest added to free-to-play, added to the game before they added the member wall. And what a doozy that quest is. You gotta fight all kinds of really ridiculous, powerful things. Which aren't so ridiculous and powerful after you start exploring the wilderness and realize there are things that go up to around like level 300 out there. The wilderness, for those who want to know, is this black-gray area of the map. There's even a member wall out there, so there's something over here that only members can access in the wilderness, and over here, the Troll Lands is all in the wilderness. I'm not sure I want to explore there. Kiersey likes that because trolls, lots of trolls. Though to be fair, Kiersey's mostly interested in going to Tyranwin when we co-member because elves. We both are big elf fans. But for me, before I go member, I think I want to visit this place, 4 and 3, because there's green dragons here. I can make better gear for when I'm using a bow. And somewhere out here there's blue dragons. I think I read that they're supposed to be somewhere along this coast. That's another dungeon that I'm not going to touch because that's death. And somewhere around here, for those who are wondering, is the strongest thing that I would dare fight, even though I shouldn't dare fight it because it'll kill me real quickly anytime. I didn't notice there's a mini-map over here. I'm still learning new things about this, because last I played, I was clunky RuneScape Classic that I was happy about playing at the time, but when I look back on it and look at it now, I realized that game was garbage. Compared to what they have now in RS3. The graphics are far superior now. The movements of your characters are more fluid. Your characters have knees. I remember that was a big joke back then. I'm not sure if the video still exists, but there was a video on YouTube at one point called The Quest for Knees. All about a RuneScape character going on this massive adventure trying to earn the right to have knees, and all kinds of stupid stuff happened. It was funny. I'll see if I can find it and link it in the description when I post this video. But I think I'm going to cut this video now because I'm really out of things to say and just got more boring old mining to do. So, see you guys later. Bye-bye.